regulation of the EU, how does it affect me? I'm not an EU citizen, but how does it affect me? We shall conclude with taking stock of the day and discussing on way forward, looking at the imperative of national internet governance strategy through multi-stakeholder participation. Whether you are in government, you are technical community, you are in civil society. The beautiful thing of IGF is that it is open, honest dialogue, issue-based debate, and the outcomes and recommendations for all stakeholders. The outcomes will form the recommendations to all stakeholders. Please sit back, relax, and get engaged in the dialogue to elicit productive conversation. Every voice must be heard. Let your voice be heard. We appreciate your partners, or we appreciate our partners, our collaborators, our speakers, even the press. I've not seen them. Where are they? You are there, okay? So, and all participants here, please get engaged and let's have a great dialogue today. You are welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Uduma, for the highlights and the warm welcome. I will take a few minutes to recognize a few persons. I might do this intermittently, but not in any protocol order. I refuse to establish any protocols, really. This is by design. I'm happy to mention that we do have in our midst a lady who came in to honor us from the United Kingdom, but a Nigerian. So I'll ask her to please stand and wave. The President, Oasis Foundation, Ms. Adiola Fasuba. Thank you so much for coming. Let me also recognize, yes, as I see them, I probably call them up, the Chief Executive of the IXPN, Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, Mr. Rudman, Mohammed Rudman. Please wave to the audience. He's also the Vice President of NIRA. The President of Global Network and Cyber Solutions Initiative, also a member of the Cybercrime Advisory Council, is a humble man, is working for this conference, but I'd like him to please wave to the audience, Ambassador Olusegun Olugbile. There are many others. In the course of the program, I might call you up to take a bow or to wave to the audience. But let's now move on to the speeches. I will tweak this program a bit. Permit me, I should have brought up Reverend Folayo, but I'll keep him seated for a while as I ask the representative of the Executive Vice Chairman of the NCC to let us hear the kind words of the EVC, Engineer Haru. Please put your hands together again for him. I have 15 minutes for these special remarks, so I would give you my first 5 minutes, sir. Thank you.
The distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. This is a goodwill message from the Executive Vice Chairman, Nigerian Communication Commission's Professor Umar Garba Dambata, who is unavoidably absent because he is attending another important occasion that coincides with this one. It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure to honor. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to the 2018 edition of the Nigerian Internet Governance Forum with the overarching theme, Internet an Enabler for Good Governance. The Internet has been around for some time now. It is fair to say it has a bearing on our very daily activities. The maiden event of this conference was first held in 2012. As I could remember, it was solely organized and sponsored by Nigerian Communication Commissions. It has been 6 years now, and this is enough time for us to reflect on how far we have come and the current challenges we are confronted with. Whilst we are meeting for the 6th time, it will not be far from the truth to say the evolution of the Internet within this period has been enormous. To put this in perspective, in 2012, there were only 28 million Internet users in this country. And as at May 2018, there are over 103 million subscribers. This evolution shows the importance of harnessing the benefits of the Internet for good governance. In Nigeria, there are more Internet subscribers than there are registered voters. These figures, Internet subscribers data, highlight the importance and value of the Internet. In line with laying the foundation for Internet penetration and increased broadband services, this year, the Commission has licensed 2 additional infrastructure companies for the provision of broadband services. The licenses are based on NCC Open Access Model, which is in line with National Broadband Plan 2013 to 2018. Increasing the number of infrastructure companies to 4, with 3 more licenses waiting for approval, thereby bring the total number of infracos to 7. The aggressive effort of the government in trying to adopt e-governance could have come at a better time. Therefore, it is us in this room who are the major stakeholders that can make this happen. The popularity and audience of different social media sites makes the use of Internet to reach citizens very important. All over the world, Nigeria inclusive, have adopted the use of social media as a medium to transfer, reach, and interact with their government. One major advantage is the speed at which information can be disseminated. This can give the citizenry a real idea of when, where, why, what their government is doing at all times. This event is very important in bringing various stakeholders to engage and discuss issues on Internet governance. I urge you all to take full advantage of the opportunity this forum has presented to be the shapers and not spectators in the drive to raise the required awareness and human capital towards ensuring that the Internet serves as an enabler for good governance. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of this event, that is Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Council. I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you also, Engineer Haru, for coming in on behalf of the NCC. We'll take 2 more goodwill messages. To my next 5 minutes, we'll now go to the CEO of Paradigm Initiative, whom Ms. Uduma had talked about as an ambassador as a very young man many years back. Is Gbenga in the hall? Gbenga, so please put your hands together for the gentleman. Thank you.
Do you want me to say something? Okay. Good morning. I'll start by recognizing 4 young people, and then I'll tell you why. Mercy Pepple, please stand. David Odolami. Mercy is studying nursing science at the University of Port Harcourt. David Odolami, mass communication, University of Lagos. Bodunde Jadesola, English, University of Ibadan. And James Adeoye, who is with Lagos State College of Health Technology in Lagos. So earlier Mrs. Uduma said that we started together when I was a boy. Did someone just say you're still a boy? With 2 kids, I don't think so. The reason why Paradigm Initiative chose to support these 4 people to come to this event is because if we're not careful, we will miss the entire essence of the internet. The entire essence of the internet is that it renews itself, and any expert today could become a dinosaur in less than 2 years. Nigeria will never move forward economically or otherwise if we keep doing tokenistic things about our young people, calling them lazy, or even not providing opportunities for them. It is our own small contribution to make sure that every year young people are participants, not just young people as people who show up to say they are youth, because I've been in meetings where people show up as youth and have more gray hair than I do. I have 1 or 2, somewhere here. But real young people who are still in school, who have the energy and are actually more connected to the internet than many of us are. So I asked them to stand to put them under pressure and to put other young people in the room under pressure. Nigeria needs you. Yes, as it is, Nigeria can do a lot better as far as the internet is concerned. I'm glad the NCC is here. The NCC talks about the number of people on the internet, and I have indeed challenged the NCC to please use the actual numbers because you shouldn't be counting SIM cards as the number of internet users. You should be counting actual subscribers. But the reality is, as young people, you are the ones who can give us the opportunities that we need. And on behalf of those on this side of the room and the organizers, I want to say again that there will be opportunities for young people, and that beyond just inviting you to speak, we would listen and take in your ideas and work with them. Please sit down. I'm glad that over the years the Nigeria IGF has had the pre-event where young people are able to have conversations around various topics and all that, and I think we should put our hands together for the NIGF group for that. I trust that this will continue, and on behalf of everyone in this room, I want to say to Mrs. Uduma and every other member of the group that we will work with you to make sure that the youth event eventually becomes the main event. Because reality is this: in the next 12 years, many of the people seated in this room would rather sit on boards of companies run by young people so they can make money. 2 key things I would say before I leave. Number 1 is that we're here to talk about internet governance, and one of the key elements of internet governance is digital rights. We talk about human rights all the time, and we now talk about human rights in the digital age. One of the interesting things happening across the continent right now as I speak is that we're beginning to see governments do funny things, and governments are copying bad habits from governments. As I speak to you today, the Ugandan government has introduced a social media tax. It is pretty tiny, about $1 a month, but I think it's one of the craziest things to do when you believe that you want to use the internet for economic opportunities, and then you create a gateway to block people from using the internet. I don't know how that thinking reconciles. Same thing in Tanzania, where the government has now said that if you're a blogger, how many bloggers are in the room? If you're a blogger, you now have to pay $927 every year to register as a professional blogger. Maybe some of these governments are lazy, maybe they're tired, maybe they don't have good ideas, but the reality is this: as stakeholders, as a multi-stakeholder group, we need to fight back in terms of these lazy ideas and make sure that what matters most, Africa doesn't have another chance. We've missed many boats. We missed when it came to manufacturing. It's the reason we're the dumping ground. One thing we can't miss is the internet. So instead of stupid ideas that block young people from using the internet, we need to make sure that every young person who is a citizen of this country is pushed towards being creative and innovative. And government, sorry AIT, that wasn't deliberate. And government will get its tax from that. A few years ago, a group of civil society organizations, this is a multi-stakeholder group, so I'm glad that it's not just about government, put together what is known as the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, a set of rules that have gone through Parliament now and has been passed into law by Senate and the House, and just awaiting the assent of the President. And I trust that before we go into elections, hopefully, the President will sign this bill into law, so that instead of arresting people for the things they tweet, instead of making people look over their shoulders, we can as a nation focus on the opportunities that the internet present. My last comment is to ask a question. Why is Nigeria not hosting the Global Internet Governance Forum? And I ask this question because if you're following this trend, one of the things that we've seen over the last few years is that Nigeria has participated actively at this event, and I do believe that we come back home, have conversations and all that. Last year was, was in Europe, in Geneva. This year is in France, in Europe. Next year is in Germany, in Europe. But I believe there are conversations we need to have that are relevant to us as a nation, relevant to us as a continent. And I want to say, not just to the MAG, but also to the government of Nigeria, because governments need to invite to be hosted, that it's about time we started thinking about the opportunity to host these conversations. We complain all the time that we always discuss, in quotes, Oyibo issues. There's no other way to discuss relevant issues that are germane to us if we don't become major actors of these conversations. Welcome to NIGF 2018, and I trust that beyond just conversations, we will become a group of people and a nation that takes advantage of the internet instead of preventing ourselves from taking, advantage of it and being the best users of it. Thank you.
Gbenga is usually very passionate. It's full of energy. And he's ended by asking a question: why isn't Nigeria hosting the Global Internet Governance Forum? Before I tell you who would answer his question, his passionate, feverish intervention reminds me of the story I often tell. He talked about missing several boats, and I often tell the story of the untold story of Hurricane Katrina. That terrible incident actually dramatizes Nigeria's experience in development. When the hurricane was to hit, the government came on to the airwaves and announced that the citizens should evacuate. And they did. But not everyone. This particular holy man who was sure that government was wrong and that his God would save him. He'd been 30 years a priest and understood how to talk to God directly. So as the hurricane hit, more announcements to evacuate. His immediate neighbor came over on a bike and called out to him to hop on so they could drive to safety. At that time, water had started coming onto the threshold of his home. So he ignored the call and prayed. The water kept rising. And then another neighbor came on a four-wheel drive. This time the water was actually above his threshold. Called out to him to come, get into the vehicle, and so they could ride to safety. He turned the offer down and got onto his dining table, knelt down and prayed even harder for God to save him. Then the third neighbor came, this time on his speedboat. Water had actually gotten to middle of, actually overtaking his dining table. It was a call for him to come out, make it out to the speedboat so he could go on to safety. But of course you would have guessed now that he missed that boat also. and prayed and climbed onto the roof of his house as the water had now got onto the lintel. And he prayed to God. And the water was surging. There was this close by coconut tree, and he climbed onto it. And the government then sent choppers hovering, and they had ladders to see whoever hadn't been rescued to climb, hold onto the ladder and climb to safety. He didn't. He was sure that God would save him. And he prayed harder and harder, even on the coconut tree. And of course he drowned. When he drowned, he went to heaven and found St. Peter, at heaven's gate, and was angry. I have a bone to pick with God. I have a bone to pick with God. St. Peter, you have a bone to pick with God? He made way. And there was God sitting on his easy chair with his back turned to this priest, and was rocking gently on his easy chair and smoking his pipe. And this priest said, I was your son, I prayed to you, but you ignored me and let me drown. God turned to him. So welcome home, my son. What more could I have done for you? I sent you a bike, you turned it down. I sent you a four-wheel drive, you turned it down. I even sent a speedboat, you wouldn't take it. What more could I have done? I even sent choppers, they were hovering, and sent a ladder down to you. You wouldn't ride on to safety. Now you wonder why I tell the story. Gbenga talked about missing the boat. We had Industrial Revolution. We missed it. We have missed several revolutions, including the fourth industrial revolution. Now we have the internet. Perhaps the very last call from God. And in this room there are less than 300 people. That frightens me. Are we also going to miss this boat? The internet? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope she will, in the course of her presence here, respond to the question that Gbenga asked. Why don't we host the Global Internet Governance Forum? She is the National Coordinator of Open Government Partnership Nigeria, herself the Special Advisor to the President on Justice Reform. Put your hands together for Barrister Juliet Ibekako. She joined us when we started, so she will be intervening at some point. I also have the representative of the Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement. I'd like to say Dr. Aliyu, who's the Director in charge of regulation. Please stand and wave to the audience, sir. Will you permit me now to take the very last Goodwill message? And I'll give that opportunity to the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Nassarawa State University, Professor Benap. Please put your hands together again for her as she comes forward.
A very good morning to you all. All protocols duly and respectfully observed, as Mrs. Uduma had instructed us to say. The Vice Chancellor of Nassarawa State University, KEFI, Professor Muhammad Akaru Menoma, is unavoidably absent. But because of his belief in the outcome of this conference, in fact, he graciously sent in a message which I am going to read through. His message: the internet is transforming our environment into extraordinary ways, by enabling the backbone for economic growth and providing new means by which people connect, interact, and collaborate with one another. We understand the fact that almost all traditional activities are increasingly shifting to the cyberspace, which is powered by the internet. Certainly, internet has become a critical infrastructure and an indispensable vehicle for the individual, business, and the government. It is now a new focal point for innovation, enterprises, social networking, criminality, and warfare. These factors are reshaping and redefining the future of the new world. Most countries that have recognized cyberspace as the fifth domain have equally elevated their perception of the domain as an abstract and imaginary space to a more concrete space as if with physical boundaries. This year's Internet Governance Forum conference with the theme Internet, an enabler for good governance, is apt and worthy of participation, especially as we draw near to 2019 general election. Information and communications technology and internet have significant roles in the upcoming elections. The recently reported cloning of permanent voters card displayed for sale at Alibaba website, a Chinese web portal, raises many questions, which, if not counteracted, is capable of undermining the credibility of the 2019 general elections. To this extent, while we agree that internet can promote good governance, it is important to think of how to make Nigeria's cyberspace safe and secure, as well as how to undercut the influence of foreign cyber meddlers. Therefore, it is my sincere hope that this year's conference will add value positively to the narratives of good governance powered by the internet. I wish all of us a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you.